This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Nina Hussain.
Good afternoon. Theresa May says the country must act to stop race, inequality and discrimination. She has launched a new website using old data to show how those from certain ethnic groups fared differently at school, in the workplace and in home ownership. For example, unemployment for Black and Asian people is nearly double that of white adults. But critics say the Prime Minister's audit doesn't explain why people are treated differently or offer any solutions. The details and reaction from Richard Pallow.
Welcome to Legacy 90.1. You're down on the breakfast show with Miss Diva. You've got me
an Afro-Caribbean station in Greater Manchester this morning, where there was only one topic of conversation.
It reveals and tackles racism and also the shock extent of discrimination in the UK.
Simone Riley's grandparents emigrated from the West Indies, yet many of her listeners feel the colour of their skin counts against them, something this report backs up.
The majority of the texts are coming in saying it's not a shock. The headlines that we saw on the newspapers that were coming in this morning saying shock tactics. This is what we know. This is what we've had installed. This has been going on, as some of the text says, from the 70s, and nothing's changed.
The findings show that 8% of Black, Asian and ethnic minorities are unemployed, nearly double that of white British adults. White British, Indian and Pakistanis are more likely to own a home than Bangladeshis and Black people, while poorer white British children, aged 7 to 11, are the worst performers at primary school. The Prime Minister's welcome at Dunraven Primary School in inner city London was not exactly what she's been used to recently, but they are the exact demographic whose future Theresa May is promising to change.
At least we've got the data now, which enables us to shine a light on where there are problems.
Reaffirming to the secondary school next door her ambition to tackle what she calls the burning injustices blighting British society.
Our evidence supports the fact that there is entrenched racial inequality in this country, that there is socio-economic injustice, and that's something that we would call government to address.
The data suggests white wealthy people receive better services from the state than Black and ethnic minorities. But for these students in Birmingham, today is still a notable step forward.
A lot of the time we like to live in ignorance because we find it easier to be in the dark about situations. But once we actually face those demons, it becomes easier to solve those problems.
As community leaders discuss it all in Downing Street this lunchtime, they will be all too aware that they may now have the findings, but at the moment, no solutions. Richard Pallow, ITV News.
Well, for some more reaction, I'm joined by the presenter and author, June Sarpong, who has advised the Prime Minister on issues surrounding inequality. June, thank you for joining me. Do you think this website, having this information in one place, do you think this will help to change the lives of people, or could it in fact hinder? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a good step. It's a step in the right direction. I welcome that the government is highlighting this issue, but unfortunately, it doesn't offer solutions. And I think we all know the problems. We see it every day around us. What we need is solutions. And I have been working with the team at Oxford University and the LSE on this stuff for the past 2 years, and we have clear guidelines about what we think the government should be doing. And I think an approach like what the UN have done with the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, would be a clear way for the government to go, which is to set the goals and targets and then actually set a deadline by when they want to reach them by.
Take me through
and then have guidelines.
Take me, sorry to interrupt you, June. Take me through some examples of the goals that you're talking about then. What are the solutions you would be advising Theresa May to listen to?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is now what this has done is we've got the audit. We know what the statistics are. We have the data. We now need to actually say that for certain groups of a certain size, there needs to be X amount of BAME candidates, there needs to be X amount of people from working class backgrounds, and then you need a clear pipeline. You need to go into these communities to train people and then to have the mentorship to make sure that they progress within these organisations. Because actually a lot of the problem is you have the BAME talent within the public sector, but they don't progress at the same rates as those from elite privileged backgrounds.
And very briefly, June, is this all down to discrimination, or are there different underlying factors that contribute to people's differences in life chances?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think what happens is early on the education levels are not the same. As you know, we still have problems within our education system. And then what happens is you don't have the same level of sponsorship within organisations. If you don't have the networks, if you don't have the contacts, even when you get a job, you don't necessarily have the system in place to help you progress. And next week, I have a book coming out called Diversify, which looks specifically at this issue and offers clear solutions. And I think there are lots of people, including myself, that would love to help the government, because Theresa May, I know, is actually dedicated to making sure that she deals with this issue. And this could be a positive legacy for her.
All right, June Sarpong, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to speak.
Almost 2,000